guys, welcome to another TMNT review, and this week I'm going to be reviewing the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures themselves, and I'm going to start off this review by reviewing Leonardo, and there's his little file card. Hard-working, honourable weapons is the Neat 10 Ryu, the double katana swords, and well, here, if you want to pause that and read that full bio, be my guest. As you can see, I do have the figure actually boxed and complete here, but you've all seen the packaging by now, you all know what to expect, and here's Leo himself. And I have to say, this is how you do a Turtles figure well. The whole design of the figure is so very well done, and I just have to say bravo on these guys. The articulation is nice, a little hampered by the shoulder and knee pads, but that's a minor point, to be honest. The individual style of each figure as well is very well done. We have nice large crafted feet, so we don't have that dramatic arch sort of foot nonsense we had with the 1988 Turtles, which, to be honest, is very thankful. The weapons can be stored in Leo's holster in his backpack. I said backpack, I know it's not actually a backpack. I'm sure there's a proper Japanese name for that. I don't actually know it, to be honest with you. And as you can see, Leo compared to his 1980s turtle figure, Leo is a little taller, not as chubby looking as well. Actually, when you see the two of them together, the 1980s turtle, I think he was eating a little too much, to be honest. Leo himself, the articulation is, we have a swivel, a bit of a, it's more of a ball joint in the head, which is a nice little touch. We have a swiveling ball in the shoulders. We have a rotating ball in the sort of elbow. It is hampered a little by these little shoulder pads, but unfortunately shoulder pads do have to be there for, well, truth to accuracy. We do have a rotation at the wrist, which is hid nicely by those bandages, those wraps around his wrists, which is very nice. I love it when they actually try to hide joints like that. Visible joints, I find, do take away from a little bit from the figure. It's not a big problem, but a problem nonetheless. The legs themselves, we have a rotating sort of joint. It's not actually a ball joint, it's more of a rotating joint in there, sort of into the groin region. The knee, we have a rotating ball in there. No ankle articulation, although the distance between the knee to the sort of base of the foot isn't that great. So, to be honest, it can be forgiven, to be honest. It's close enough, if I'm explaining myself properly here, that you can get a decent range of movements and poses out of this guy. Plus, with his wide angled feet, let's see if this works, he should be able to take some mad stances, and it's not going to work. Well, oh, there we go. A little uncomfortable maybe, but it works nonetheless. Leo also comes with, actually just before I cover that, the bottom of his shell here is actually a separate piece. It's actually a nice sort of bendy rubber, so that allows you to actually keep the figure shoe accurate, but at the same time allow for a nice range of motion. And to be honest, that is actually very appreciative. You know, it's nicely done. Leo also comes with, so I'm not the wrong way around, a nice little weapons card. You know, a little bit of a throwback to what we used to have. As you can see, he comes with another katana, although this katana is considerably bigger, and it's not a monster, granted, but bigger nonetheless. As well as 3 kunai, 2 throwing stars, and that little dagger, which I'm not 100% sure. I see there's like a little non-painted but design sort of wrap around it. I'm not really 100% sure. I assume it's some kind of hidden knife, maybe, perhaps. There's something else I have really liked about these file cards. If you were a collector or had these toys in the 80s of the original figures, I should say, had him for example, you would know that their file cards and all looked, or file cards and weapons cards, all looked the same. The wee weapons racks were all pretty much identical. They're the same colour, and when you removed the signature weapons, there wasn't a lot to vary them. So it was very easy to get confused Raphael's with Michelangelo's and so on and so forth. Although with these new range, not only are the file cards actually a different colour, but also, if you notice at the top, Leo, Leo. They've actually bothered to put the characters' names onto the card, which to be honest I thought was a very, very nice touch. It was something that didn't have to be done, but it was done and done very well. So that's another thing that I'm liking about this new range. Now we'll move on to Raphael. We just take a wee look at his bio card here. As you can see, hothead and sharp sai expert. Just basically weapons is sai, doesn't really give any much more detail on that. Tough, quick tact, and hot tempered. Pause that if you want to read the rest of his bio. Obviously enough, points of articulation are the same with Raphael. You know, which is not a bad thing, we're happy with that. Also what I liked, if you notice, his sai can be held into his hand like so, between his sort of fingers, which is a very nice touch. And I was saying something else and I'm really liking about these figures, there is no reuse of parts. With the Classics Turtles lines, here we have Classics Raph. As you can see, Classic Raph is a little bit shorter and a little doughier, for lack of a better term. As you can know, with the Classics range, they reuse the parts quite a bit. So far I can see no reuse of parts in any of these figures. You know, each part has been individually crafted for each figure. Like, even look at the shells here. You have the show accurate tear or slice in Raph's shell there. Even the slices and tears on the rear of the shells. Okay, I suppose Leo's a bad guy to choose to show the shells. They're all individually different. I think that's a very, very nice touch. It was something you didn't expect, that normally we weren't used to, but it was very well done. I was actually very pleased with that. Also with that there, Raph's weapons can store in the rear of his shell like so. Or rear of his shell, the rear of his belt. Unlike this classic figure who stored everything in the front of his shell, but did come with that stabbing fist blade of doom. I have no actual idea what the really mad blade is. Articulation, like I said, is the same. We have the same rubber sort of molded flap over his groin sort of area. I know I say groin a lot in these videos, I really got to stop doing that. So that's Raph. The next figure, so I suppose you should really cover Raph's weapons rack. As you can see, Raph does have two hook blades, large throwing stars, as well as what appears to be two double forked sais instead of the tri-forked. You know, I don't know if that's the right terminology, I'm probably saying that wrong. If it is, feel free to correct me. And also not only a different colour, similar to Leo's, but a slightly different tint of grey. As well as that there, we do have Raph written on the top, which is another nice little, well, effect really. Next we're going to go to the shortest guy of the bunch, and we have Michelangelo. And to be honest, he is one of my favourite. The character in the show is classic, as well as the way they've made him a wee bit shorter. He's looks as physically as fit, but he's just not the same height sort of stage. And that's a nice sort of idea. It's something they never really bothered with before, was that the turtles could be different heights, and there is going to be a run to the litter, and that is Mike. And here he is next to his 80s figure, and believe it or not, I know it's a little hard to show where this camera position, but he's the only one who's actually a little bit, I do mean just a little bit, shorter than his 80s counterpart. So, there's one for you. I just show you Michelangelo's file card. I'm getting a little bit confused there, I do apologise. Here we go. Mike's file card. Jester and hard-headed nunchucked hero. His weapons is Kusugara Gami, was it? Nunchucks? I really need to work on my Japanese, to be honest. Kusari Gami. I think that's the right pronunciation. Pause that if you want to read it. I actually really do love that. It's just typical of Leo or Mike. Although they didn't include freckles into his face sculpt. I would actually have liked if they included his freckles, but you can't have everything. Points of articulation are the same. He does come with a twin set of nunchaku. The only problem is you see the stress marks. Like, I've only basically folded that and put that in there once, and put that other set of nunchucks under a sort of, well, armpit area. I haven't played much with these guys. Like I said, I'm an adult collector, not playing with these guys. I don't actually play with them anymore. I've lost that ability, unfortunately. But there is a bit of stress markage coming on there, and that's getting a little bit concerning. As you see, his file card does come with 2 throwing stars, 2 larger throwing stars, as well as that, well, hooked chain bladed weapon. I don't actually know the right name of it. To be honest, I'm very tempted to actually cut this off. I know the wife has a bit of rubbish jewellery and broken jewellery and replace it with a bit of silver chain. And you know, with some bracelets now have like a little weighted ball. I'm thinking about replacing that with that. Moving, painting this up a bit. I don't know, I might do it. Since I already do it, I have another one here sitting, so if it does mess it up, it's not really the end of the world. So it is something I'm contemplating doing. If I do it, I may show it off in a later review. And now for the most sort of individual of the characters, they're all unique. As you can actually see here, the height difference between Donnie and Mike is quite considerable, and it's very nicely done. I'm really liking the fact that Donnie is that much bigger. Now, he's not the strongest of the turtles. I suppose that title would either go to Raph or Leo, depending on the skill set. But I have to say, Donnie is actually very nicely done. We quick look at his file card. Inventor and Weaponeer. Nagina Tana. I don't know, 6-foot bow staff with blade. I really need to work on that. Believe it or not, I can speak a fair bit of Japanese, but sometimes I just have trouble with some of the Japanese words when I haven't actually heard them aloud, so you can bear with me on that one. Points of articulation are the same. As you can see, we've got a very different belt design to the rest of the turtles, and even a nice little bit of stitching where the belt has been stitched on there. And the same around the back to actually hold his bow. And unlike the 1980s counterpart, Donnie only does come with 1 bow staff. And like I said, well, I'm pretty sure I said on my Classics Turtles review, or my 1980s Turtles review, I never remember Donnie having 2 bow staffs. I don't know why it came with it in the cartoon, but for some reason they included it in the toy. But with this, they've went a lot more show accurate, which I always appreciate when they do. You actually notice his bow is actually thicker at the top. So the best way to get him to hold it is actually slide it down his hands. And there's no point trying to slide in the fatter end, because you're basically going to stress out the fingers and leaving it a bit more loose fitting, which you don't want. You don't want your toy to be sort of loose gripped. Yeah, that's coming across a little bizarre, but you can bear with me. I have to say, to be honest, toss up between favourite figure, it's actually a very hard one. It's going to have to be between Donnie or Michelangelo, just for the simple fact they're so different. They're such not what we're used to. To be honest, it's such a nice touch. You're so used to the 4 figures being, well, to be honest, very similar. And it's nice to see them very different. And here is Donatello's weapons rack. As you can see, different colour of brown as well as Dawn written on it. We have 2 large throwing, they're not stars, they're large disc blades. I don't actually know. You also have that, need to get that, let's see if I can get this name right, shall I? I know I won't, but let's see. Naginata. Naginata. I don't know. I must actually watch somebody else's review, see if I don't actually give the proper pronunciation of that word. As well as that, there we have got a bow that's on chains. It's almost like a very large nunchaku, which also very nice. And to be honest, it's a nice touch. It's something else that didn't have to be added into this, but it was, and it is appreciated. Pardon me. So that's it for this guy's reviews, or these guys' reviews. I hope you enjoyed. Any questions, queries, qualms, please let me know. I'm trying to think what review to do next. Should I stick to the 1980s or do another one of the new range? I'm tempted to do some more of the new figures, but we'll see in time. So that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye bye now.